Good evening, all the attendees. Hi, I am Sancheta here. I represent Pollution Control India. Let me give a gist about what pollution control is all about. Pollution Control India is a series of conference, webinar, expos, virtual expos, and such networking platforms for the community of pollution control suppliers, service providers, users, and policymakers. Pollution Control India is an attempt to provide a platform for interaction, peer learning, awareness and education on the subject of pollution control, its equipments, services, technology, and some best practices. Let's have a short video where you will get a gist about what circular economy is all about and today's topic, what we will going to discuss about.
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
So this was a gist about what circular economy is. And as we know, our topic today is circular economy in construction and plastic industry, a step further towards new normal of sustainable development. Before I start off with our discussion today, I want to just inform all the attendees that we are open for chat as well as we are open for question and answer box. If you have any question, you have to specify to whom you want to talk about, like the speaker name with your question, so that it will be easy to communicate the questions and answer. Now let's move further. Circular economy is based on the principle of designing our waste and pollution, keeping products and material in use, and regenerating natural system. Circular economy is restorative and regenerative by design. This means material constraints flow around a closed loop system rather than being used once and then discarded. In the case of plastic, this means simultaneously keeping the value of plastic in the economy without leakaging into the natural economic environment. Society need to stop thinking of plastic as waste, but as a renewable resource that needs to be disposed of correctly. In the case of construction, supply chain can effectively deliver circular economy goal, budgets, project management, and timescale risk that are minimized and mitigated. I request Ankush to kindly introduce our esteemed speakers today.
Okay. Thank you, Sanchita. Hello, everyone. We have our first speaker, who is Anuj. Um, Anuj is an edge expert, lead green associate, ECBC expert, and IGBC AP, GreenCo facilitator, and regional head at Design to Occupancy Services. He's an engineer. An engineering firm that provides green building facilitation, energy modeling, commission, energy audit service, and so on. We also have Sharang Ambadkar. He's the founder of Feel Good Innovations. He is an IT engineer turned green entrepreneur who has a vision to create a circular business model in major business sectors. He is also a vivid traveler, circular economy enthusiast, and a motivational speaker who is educating people and working towards ways to build a sustainable future. The third speaker, we have Mr. Shivam Batra, an engineer turned social leader, assisting organizations in implementing CSR, circular economy, reverse logistics, and sustainable strategies across India. Working as a strategic business development manager with Synergie, he has 6 years of overall work experience in construction, food production, and development sector across Asia, Africa, and Europe in managing operations and sustainability.
Today we'll be focusing on the point of discussion that is effective waste management, sustainable building, circular economy business model. Will be looking after a case study on this, rethinking product design, operational waste, barriers in circular economy. Over to you, Ankush.
Okay, so welcome all speakers. So we'll start with Anuj. The first question to you is, how can we enable sustainable building through recycling and waste management?
Thank you so much, Ankush. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much, Ankush, for confirming the same. So firstly, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope you are safe and sound at your place. And thank you so much, Himakshi, Sanchita, Ankush, and whole PCI team, Pollution Control India community team, for inviting me for this session. And so I welcome you all for this, for joining us for this evening. So we will take you forward to like waste and waste to wealth, how it is connected to the waste to wealth. So if you are ready to listen me, Sharang and Shivam, please type yes in the chat box. Please type yes in the chat box. It will give boost to us to deliver best to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are getting a good response.
Wow.
Thank you. Wow. It's a great that all are ready to listen us. So I'll share my screen now. Ankush, can you drop your screen?
Yes, I'll watch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So is my screen visible to you?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Thank you. Thank you for So first is the circular economy. For this topic, we are here. So everyone knows about the production, like whatever the material we are using in the building or in our daily life, it somewhere produced. Later on, it comes to the our homes or our buildings. So that the distribution and the consumption we do consume those products in our buildings in our daily life. After that, what will happen? It goes to the landfill or somewhere else. So all depends on you. It goes to the land. It should be go to the landfill, or we can reuse, repair, and recycle. And after the recycle sector comes up, so this whole cycle comes up as a circular economy. So my continuous presentation will show you like how the building sector is doing work and how the waste management is happening across the world and across the India. So there's a one report says, global report says global construction waste will almost double by 2025, because I belongs to a industry. So we are making a sustainable building across the India and across the globe. So there's a one report says the construction is going to happen a lot. And if you also feel that if you go outside, you can see there are a lot of buildings are coming up in your nearby your places, nearby your cities. So we can feel like construction is going to happen a lot in future times, and it is going to double. So what will happen to this waste? What will happen to this waste? So we will get to know what we can do from our side. So as I belong to the building industry, so there is a one slide which show how the building material should be stored at the site. Because right now, what we see during the building construction, the owner and the client purchase the building material, but they are all scattered on the site. So this is one step to make the building sustainable, and this is the sustainable site practices also. So if you or your colleague are making any building, or you see any building nearby homes, you can suggest those people that it should be properly managed. So you can see it is the signboards are also there on the construction yards, like there's a steel yard, shuttering material, and for the steel and other material as well. Similarly for the wood and other material can be put. After the material is done, how once the building is constructed, what will happen to the waste? We generally put the waste nearby to the site, but it should not be happen, because the waste is wealth, waste to wealth. We should keep it very clearly, very manageable way. You can see this is from the sustainable site practices. You can see the first image of wood scrapyard is there on the site of building. Then we have a steel scrapyard, and then empty cement bags. You will see that we use a cement in our building, so there's an empty cement bags also there. Is my screen visible, Ankush? Because a lot of people are saying the screen is. Ankush, can you confirm?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thank you.
They have to change their setting to speaker view.
Okay, thank you so much, Ankush, for confirming. Yeah. So, and what happens, like who plays a major role for the site construction? Our workers. Like you see, they are the major people who play a vital role for the construction of the building. So we have to always train those people through our site in charge. Who are the site in charge? Just train that person, and they will train the worker like how to manage waste, how to keep a safety practices during this construction of the building. Like this is one of the thing, construction, we see construction, but what happens to the waste? We can reuse those waste at construction site itself. Like use of gunny bags. Hope you are aware about this gunny bags. In Hindi we say it's a bori. Like these gunny bags are used for the construction to keep the pillars and all to wet, and it reduces the water. It uses the less water for the construction site. Or you can see the second image, of cement bags are also used, that can be used for the barricading of the site. And gunny bags, like one person is saying the gunny bags can be used. Yes, gunny bags can be reused again and again. And once the life is over, you can recycle those gunny bags. And you can see the tiles, breaking tiles can be reused on the site itself for temporary paving areas. So this is one of the few pictures which show the best practices on the site, which should be happen for the sustainable building. So if you are making a building, use these practices. Later I come to another site. So this is the one waste log. Like right now, I see whenever because I meet my client or I go to sites, some people are not managing like how many waste they are creating on the site, how much waste is creating from the sites, and how much they are sending to the landfills, and how much they are sending to the recyclers. So there's a one best practices for the site. Like you can keep this waste log sheet to the site in charge. They can keep how much is concrete is used and how much is wasted, how much waste is coming from the site and all. So this is one slide. Later on, I come to the one stats which shows India is growing at a huge rate. You can see that 1.3 billion people are right now. It's more than 1.3 billion people, and its urban areas produces 162 million tons of waste per year, and half of which ends in a landfill. So this is half of which ends in a landfill. We need a lot of space for that waste to put in a landfill. So should we do that or not? Put yes or no in the comment section. Should we send the waste to the landfill or not? Put yes or no in the comment section. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Why should we should not put on the landfill? I'll take you through my stats and all. Thank you so much for very interactive. So does anyone know like what is this in my screen? What is this? Put yes or no. It's a landfill site. Yeah, people are saying it's like yes, waste. So we call it a Mount Everest of the garbage. It's India's massive Gazipur landfill. So if you're from nearby Delhi or nearby Noida and all, if you're coming from the Ghaziabad side to the Delhi, you can see this landfill site on the nearby Delhi. It's in East Delhi. So what is happening on this site? You can see on the Google image, like once you Google it, it is a Gazipur dump yard, and it is like a mountain, which is a huge right now. It's more than 64-meter site. You can see the stats of this Gazipur landfill. It is spread in a 29-acre site, more than 65 meters in height, which is near to the Qutub Minar height in Delhi, and 3,000 metric tons per day. Recently, I read an article in for this Gazipur site. It was mentioned that 3,000 metric tons per day comes to this site, and it is going above and above. 600 to 650 trips of the trucks per daily. This is huge, and it is only in the East Delhi part. So according to the ILF NFS report, the problems are as follows: incompatible land use. If you see the nearby areas are incompatible, poor condition of physical infrastructure. The condition is very poor nearby the site. Hazardous living condition in slums, like because a lot of waste are coming in this site, so a lot of gaseous pollution is also happening. That makes the condition hazardous nearby site. Poor connectivity of the area to the rest of the city. Poor connectivity, because the connectivity is poor right now. So you can see on my screen, like due to the lot of plastic or lot of waste on this dump yard site, there's a one blast happened in year 2017 in September, and due to this, 2 people were killed during this blast. And that blast happened, and so you can see the photograph of this blast. Later on, a government put one segregator and the one waste to energy plant to this site. Okay, so you can see the segregator, because the segregation should be happen at source, but no one is doing the segregation. So the segregation is happening at the site, and whatever the waste is on the site, it is segregated. Like bricks are segregated different place. Later on, the plastic and the other materials are segregated through this machine, and later on the plastic goes to the waste to energy plant, which is. So my question is, like, do we use this different bins at our places, at our homes? Do we use the different bins? Put yes or no in comment section if you put the different bins for different types of waste. If you are using different bins, then you are the super person. If you are not using, please start from today. So I am getting a mixed response. So there's a one I want to share, like there's from the Tata Trust. Hope you are aware of the Tata Trust. Tata Trust recently announced a one campaign which is a 2 wins life wins. Hope you have if you have not seen a one very inspirational or motivational video on the YouTube, just go to the Tata Trust YouTube page and see the 2 wins life wins. You will see and you will be inspired and you will start doing the 2 wins format in your home, because you should do the dry waste and the wet waste segregation at your place only, because at site lot of things happen, lot of waste comes up, and then things becomes non-manageable. So there's a one quote from this: every year the lives of thousands of sanitation workers, because it not only the energy or waste and all, it the sanitation workers lives also depends on the waste, effective trying to do the unimaginable for the country. So India, let's pledge to separate our waste into biodegradable waste, wet waste, and non-biodegradable wet waste. So if you are not doing it, because it starts from source itself, or my friend Sharang or Shivam will also take you forward with other presentations also. So there's a one slide from my side: segregation and treatment at source. Like we create the waste, and then we put only in the one dustbin, which is common for all the type of waste, but it should not be there. We should keep different dustbins for all types of waste. Yes, as Ms. Sanchita said, like as per the SWM rules 2016, you are needed to segregate into 3 streams, not only 2. Yes, you are right, ma'am. But from the start of source, we can start from 2. Then later on we can do at 3, and later on we can for the e-waste, for the metal waste, for the glass waste, we can do as per own, because all depends on us. Later on, once the waste is put in on the dustbins and all, it goes to the organic waste processing at ward level, then non-biodegradable waste transport at the site, and trash goes other places. So waste to energy, how we create the waste to energy? Because waste, as I said earlier, waste is a wealth. So you can create a lot of energy from that waste. And the organic, if you are using the organic waste, there are a lot of startups are now in India. They are from the organic waste, they are creating the energy which you can use in the kitchen. And later, if you have other waste like plastic or other things, then that you can reuse or recycle it, and then you can use the same at your place. So waste is a wealth. So what are the benefits for this doing the waste things up, and why the circular economy? Because right now you can see during this COVID time, we are discussing a lot about economy. Economy is going down, but waste is also can be a circular economy, and it is a step for the sustainable development. And what are the benefits for it? It reduces drive fuels for tea industry. Green belt, like if the Ghazipur site is not there, we can put the plantation over there, and once the waste is converted in the energy or something else, we can put a plantation, and that site will be a very good site. Then later, generation of power from the waste generated per day. A lot of power can be generated, and that can be used at your homes and at your places. Natural manure, like we are lacking in the agriculture industry for the manure. So a lot of manure can be created from the that waste. Plastic waste to recycling industry, like plastic waste. My friend Sharang is a expert in the plastic and all. So he will take you like how the plastic, what is the journey of plastic and all. So he will give more details on this. Later on, the benchmarking for the waste management project in the site. So this is one of the benchmarking point. Yes, as Mr. Nelson said, like I think the Indian scenario, the waste management measures has less priority concern. Yes, you are right, is a less priority concern, and we can definitely, if we are good and if we start from ourselves, we can make a better place for future. Like in my slide also, you can see, as we stay at home, our waste can pile up. Like you can see a lot of waste is generating from our kitchen, from our rooms and all. So, and we are living at home, a lot of waste is piling up, and it starts from home itself. Change begins at home. No one is going to do for you. You only have to do, and especially for the waste, because you are creating that thing. So in earlier days, we have seen that there are 3 R's protocol, like which is a reuse, recycle, and other thing. But in 3 R's, we have defined the 7 R's. Firstly, rethink. Like if you're going to the supermarket or any shop, just think about it. Like, should we purchase this item or should we purchase this packaged item which is creating a waste outside? No. So we should not purchase that one and or minimize that purchase. Then refuse. Like if we go to the shops for the cold drink or juice center or anywhere, they give the juices with the straw. We can refuse those straws. We can refuse the plastic plates and all. Then reduce. Whatever you are using, you can reduce the consumption, because that is also a good point. Then repurpose. If you are using, if you are creative, then you can make your waste very creative in another way. Like I used to create different things from the waste. Like in my home, I created one lamp light from the bottles. I created the flower pots from the bottles, and I created my business card also from the elephant dung paper. Or like someone is here from the Auroville also. I see the one comment from the Auroville. So yes, we can use the handmade papers. Like in Auroville, I see handmade papers are very very good thing. And the wallpaper is one firm is there that they use the newspapers to make their items, home items that can be used at your places. Then reuse. Whatever you are using, reuse that thing if you can. Then recycle. If reuse is not possible, just send to the recycler or not to the landfill, only to the recycler, which is verified recycler, and they can recycle it. Rot is for the organic waste. Like in our homes, you can put the small organic waste composter that can compost your waste to the manure, and that manure you can use in your gardens. So that is the 7 R's for sustainability, and all starts from us. So start doing this, then only we can do a lot of things for our future generation. Or in my slide, you can see littering of waste has grown exponentially, and it is going higher and high. This means this needs to stop. If not, because we have to leave a green and healthy planet for our next generation. Like you can see now the coronavirus is there, but because climate change and the pollution is the next war, and the other thing, because climate change and the pollution are the next can be a next world war and can be a next big problem. So we have to start from today, and you can see let's own up our waste. Government cannot do anything. Government will do at their state, at their level, but we have to start from ourselves. Start from your homes, then your society, then from your locality. So this is all about from me about the construction waste and the operational waste from the buildings. If you do this, you can make your sustainable building. And a lot of points, if you are because I belong to the building industry, I just would like to share that if you're going to make your building green certification, for the green building certification, there are a lot of points in the materials section. In the materials section, all depends on the what are the materials you are using in the building. There's a one point for the salvage material. There's a one point for the recycled content. If you are using the materials for your buildings, in the material, the recycled content should be more. Then you will get a good point. There's a one point for the local materials. Like if your home is in Jaipur, like I'm from Jaipur right now. If your home in Jaipur or any other city, the material should be procured from nearby cities wherever is manufacturing, so that we can reduce the transportation carbon losses, because a lot of carbon emission is happening due to the transportation of the materials. So there are a lot of things can be done if you are making your building sustainable and if you are making your home sustainable. But all starts from ourselves. So please be sustainable and go green. So my friend Sharang and Shivam will take you other journey, like how what is the circle of circular economy and how is the journey of the plastic. So Sharang, over to you now. Thank you so much, everyone. Please keep your comments on, so that I can give you the answers from my side. Put your questions in the questionnaire tab, and so our team will respond to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anuj. That was a great insight. We have the second question for Sharang. What are the key comparisons between existing waste management models and waste management in circular model. So Sharang, over to you.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Ankush, thank you. So I would like to thank you all the attendees for coming, and firstly, thank you for being here, and thank you, Ankush, Shivam sir, and Anuj sir for uh, letting me be on this panel. And also thank you to the PCI team for this organizing this event. So I would like to share my screen and tell you about the current waste management model that are happening and how we can change it to a circular model. I'll just show you. Uh, Ankush, is it visible?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So the current waste management model. Right now, the waste management, how it is happening in our country, is not very ideal, and this can be proved by the current, the recent results that were given out by Yale University about the environmental performance index 2020, in which India ranked 168th, and it was second last in the Asiatic region, just above Afghanistan, which is 178th. And sadly, their official report also stated that with the same score, India would have ranked 163rd if it was calculated 10 years ago, which is really a sad. What basically EPI is? It is the calculation of health, environmental health, which are calculated on 32 indicators, and it it has all the categories of waste management, recycling, the CO2 emission, land covers, greenhouse gases, and everything. With India being on 168th, other countries in Asia, just like Nepal was on 145th, Bangladesh on 162nd, Pakistan on 142nd rank, uh, which is really sad for a nation like India to be on the second last in the Asiatic region. So, what do you think happens to this particular waste or a chocolate wrapper after you eat the sweet inside it? uh, I'll tell you the journey of this particular waste or this particular wrapper, what happens to it. If if the wind doesn't blow it away out of the window or anywhere else, it will probably end up in a dustbin, and hopefully a dry dustbin, because of the rules that are mentioned in the solid waste management 2016. So if it ends up in a dry dustbin and the municipalities are collecting your dry and wet dustbins separately, or at least in a different color bags, maybe they may transport it in the same vehicle, but it is being collected in a different color bags. It is mainly blue and green color bags. But if that is not the case, then sadly, if it is all collected in just one bin, or even if you are segregating it and the municipalities are collecting all the waste in the same vehicle, sadly it is just being dumped in the same vehicle, and then it is collected uh, in a place where the waste is compressed, and then it is kept for a week, after which it is being transported to landfill, which is really very sad. But there are some societies and some areas which have asked the municipalities to collect their waste separately, uh, dry and wet waste separately, and municipalities are doing it because it makes their job easier in the next cycle where the segregation happens. But this waste, which is collected collectively, of both of wet and dry waste is not really just dumped it into the landfill. There is a segregation that is happening, but it is majorly dominated by informal sector. This informal sector domination leads to some value generation out of the waste, but it is not very large how much it should be. I'll tell you about the drawbacks of it in the future slides, but if you have some questions, please just put it in the Q&A so we can answer it after the seminar, in the last half an hour. So this is the place where the land, all your wrappers are going to end behind this guy. So plastic manufacturing, the plastic was created to be recycled, and 100% of plastic which is manufactured, only 14% is recycled and less than it is recovered. With, uh, with, with this statement, you can see 86% of the plastic which was meant to be recycled is gone into the drain, or rather landfill. This 80%, 86% of the plastic has not only just polluted the our environment, but it has given a very, it has damaged economically to the system, because right now we are living in a take, make, dispose system. Basically this is a linear system which states in which is explained by this particular image very clearly, that the source of manufacturing, basically the plastics are manufactured with um petrochemicals. Petrol is the raw material for making plastics, and which is refined to make different types of material, plastics, which is which are manufactured and sold to the consumer like us. And after which, if not kept in the loop, it is incinerated or dumped into the landfill, which both the techniques are not correct. So what are the drawbacks of this particular system that we are facing right now? Firstly, like I said, the 86% which is lost, the first drawback is money. I'll give you an example of the waste in Mumbai. There is 700 tons of plastic waste generated per day in Mumbai. Out of which two-thirds is recovered, but remaining one-third accounts to 234 tons. And if we take an average cost of plastic around 10 rupees per kilo, then it accounts to 23 lakhs 40,000 of huge amount which is lost, or the profit which we could not gain. It is not a loss, but it is the profit we could not gain, because we did not recycle or use a circular model, which is a very big amount for each day. The second is fuel. Like I said, the raw material for making plastic is petrochemicals, which is not a unlimited source. It is a limited natural resource, and we are just over consuming it a lot. We people are using the petrol like there is no tomorrow, and which is very aggressive step that we are taking. Just a fact that I would like to mention is only 15% of the petrol which we put it in our cars is used to the vehicle. Rest all is a greenhouse gas, or it is all hazardous emissions. Uh, it is said that by a study says by 2050 we'll need 3 times more of fuel than we currently use, which is practically impossible. Then oceans. Uh, you all know what crisis the plastic is creating in our oceans. There are right now 8 million tons of plastic is dumped into the ocean per year. And the plastic which enters this ocean is not just huge plastics like bottles or wrappers or any sort of big plastic. It degrades into microplastics which are ingested by sea creatures and phytoplankton, which is a very critical organism responsible for 60 to 85% of the atmosphere that we live in. Uh, and it is estimated that by 2050 we'll have more fishes by weight than we'll have more plastic than fishes in the oceans by weight. These are some of the drawbacks that we have. We all have learned about the 3 R's, that is reduce, reuse, and recycle in our EVS subject. Maybe it may be uh, uh, in your schools or any academic things. So this is not the current state that we should be doing right now, because uh, right now India is India's 60% of economy is based on natural resource, but all we talk about is creating jobs and work for the laborers, which is really sad. And we have seen the prices of resources like petrols and other resources shoot skyrocket, which I don't think any one of us likes it. So what change must we do? And if you see, all these negative things have an argument, but also it has a positive side to look at it. But firstly you have to take uh, you have to think that the problem is real, and we cannot solve this problem by the same mindset that created it. It is a quote by Albert Einstein which is truly needed to make the change happen. So how? This circular model which showed you is uh, is the solution uh, that we can have, and which will contribute to less waste going to the landfill or incineration. It is basically from take, make, dispose system. We are changing to make, use, reuse, and recycle system. In this cycle, we are not sending any waste or minimal waste to the incineration or the landfill. I'll give you some business models, or how do we do that in the few further slides. This circular model is not a new topic for us Indians. It has been running in the country for a very long time, but we have lost interest, or we are not trying to do it. If you remember, these are the glass bottles which the grocery shop used to sell to for in used to sell the cold drinks in, and he would take 2 rupees extra when we bought it, and when we returned it or kept in the basket, we used to get that 2 rupees back. And which was a circular system that was introduced by this by the companies. And this is really important because everyone knew that it had a value to it. Right now, if you buy a cold drink, it comes in a plastic bottle, and you don't have to give it back to get some returns or some cash back. uh, Cashback is a very good term to make people excite about it. And right now it has become so, packaging is so cheap that people are not interested in doing it. Secondly, raddiwalas are the best examples, where even right now we give our papers or plastics or metals to him to get some incentives. it is small incentives, but at least something better than nothing. And one more thing that was introduced by a major 500 Fortune 500 company some years back, when they uh, introduced their first phone, which was for 1500 rupees. They had marketed it with such a value that after 3 years of using this phone, if you give it back, you will get 1500 rupees back. And it was such a smart marketing strategy that they had a lot of sales in this. But the point is, if you see all these examples, it is not a one man's job doing this. It is a collaborative approach. It involves, and for a bigger change to happen in the country, we need to involve policymakers, NGOs, and all the big companies to work together. But mainly, it should be a, a need or a questioning from the end users, and there should be an academic awareness towards it. And so that there is a vision that is set by officials, so that we can go towards it. So circular models that should be focused on right now, and we can start it from ourselves, from our end, is firstly the renewable resources. Not depending on the natural renewable resources, we can turn to such innovative inventions that have been done and are out in the market. On the left side, you can see there is a sunflower type solar panels, which moves according to the sunlight, and so that it has a very the input is intensified, and there is a lot of energy that is created with such type of designs are a very essential part of a circular economy. So it also closes down when there is no sunlight, just like a flower basically. And so it is safe during night, and the energy that is collected day is more than the normal solar panels. And on the right side, you can see wind turbines which are installed on the highways. There is a lot of traffic in all over the globe. There is a lot of traffic, and vehicles are moving continuously. So what can be done is, this innovation shows it very well. This wind turbines turns the wind energy into electricity, into a resource that we can use it wherever we want, and a very practical thing to do in this times. The second business model has two parts or three parts. It is extended business life model. The first is take back model, just like how I explained you about the bottles or the raddiwalas. This, the what companies should do and could do in the future is, if they are selling, I'll give you an example of this chair. If they are selling this particular chair, this chair has many different particles in it. Yeah, you can see it on the right hand side. It has plastic, it has metal, it has foam, it has cloth, it also has some electrical equipments in it. So for a layman or for a labor to recycle it and disassemble it is very difficult. So what companies could do is ask the end users to give it back to them when the use is over. And they could, basically what they could do is, they have three options with them. They could repair what is broken, resell it. They could repair, after repairing it, it is if it is to be updated, it is upgraded. Or the third is, if it is damaged, then and then only it should be recycled and not sent to any landfill or any incineration. Then the second model is lease, where we sell a product as a service and not sell the ownership of the product. So on the left hand side, you can see some furniture, and this was a very good company which had introduced such a business model where they were selling the furniture but not giving the ownership. They used to lease it to their clients, and after the use, the clients will either exchange it with different furniture or give it back and pay for how much ever they have used, which is a practical thing to do during this time. On the right hand side is a office or a building which you can see. Uh, this is an example I would like to give you about the lighting systems. We could, a lighting company could ask their clients to give them a business where they control or they handle whole building's lighting need. And whenever there is some problem in any of the lights or any of the lighting materials, they themselves will come to the site, exchange it, repair it, and take back what is broken, so that everything is in the loop and nothing is gone into the landfill or is gone into the waste. Third is sharing or renting, but that will be explained by Shivam sir in the next slide. The third business model is eliminating waste, where we reduce the waste and reuse it as a resource for some another industry, which is essential in these times, and uh, is being done on a large, not on a large scale, but it is being done right now. So on the right hand side, you can see e-waste that is being recycled. Mobile phones in your hand have around 17th rare earth metal, from which gold is one part of it. Don't open your phone, guys, because the 30 to 35 phones, when they get recycled, 1 gram of gold is recovered, which is a lot. But this industry is using metal for some other purpose. And on the left hand side, you can see plastic tiles, which is basically my company. What we do, we recycle plastic waste, all types of plastic waste, and from all the genres, maybe it industrial waste or household waste. We recycle plastic waste and the cement or concrete waste from the building or construction demolition debris, basically. So that we recycle and make such tiles or paver blocks, which are a solution for a good tomorrow, because this tiles can be used for up to 40 to 50 years and nothing will happen to it. And even if it breaks, it can be recycled, and it can be recycled up to 5 to 6 times, which is really essential thing that should be done with a resource. Lastly, I would like to ask you again, if you see this, see and understand what this circular model meant, and how we could again use it as a recycle. We use it for recycling, basically in a circular model, and not send the waste to landfill or incineration. So we need to accept that change is unavoidable, and we need to change the way we produce, the way we consume, and basically the way we live life. I would like to conclude my presentation and tell you a short thing about Gaia theory, which states that everything in the nature is connected. Each and everything in the nature is connected, and even your short thing, what you do, can be a big thing in the future towards the nature. So with this, I'll ask Shivam sir to continue from here and explain what we can do to make a good, we make this future better. a brighter future. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharang. Thanks, Anuj, and thanks all the Pollution Control India team for for inviting me as well and this the panel discussion. And Sharang and Anuj, you guys did a great, amazing job while explaining the construction and plastic industry. So what I will be basically doing, I'll just share my screen. Yeah. Yeah, so what basically I will be doing is, I'll be taking you to a journey which is about how basically we will be framing all these models. Because it is, everyone knows, that plastic waste or construction waste or textile or any form of waste is a big challenge when it comes to, be it commercial, residential, industrial, or whatsoever sort of a waste. It is a big challenge today, and it might be a big challenge tomorrow while dealing with the problems. But if you have to address these things, you have to do all those stakeholder alignments. You have to, because everyone knows that the earth is round, the bio life cycle is round, the even the vicious karma cycle is also round, right? So all we have to do is connect. We have to come away from those linear models, and we have to start building those circular economy business models. And how we will be doing it, I'll be taking you to those journeys now. So first of all, let me just set the context for you, because I think it's already 5 p.m. so I have to be a little bit quick. So basically, if I have to set the context, so 40% of the food in India at present is getting wasted, which accounts to almost $14 billion. And the worst part is that 16% of the waste happens in the consumer plates. And these all, it's not just about the food waste or about the plastic waste or about the textile, glass, or any sort of waste, because these all the waste are either coming from the residential, from the commercial, or from the industrial sides, right? India today ranked 100 out of 119 countries in Global Hunger Index, which means like 14% of our population is undernourished. So at one side, we are basically producing more, but at the other side, our entire this thing is the population is undernourished. Reason being because of the wealth disparity we have, because of the overconsumption by few and malnutrition for others. So if you see, the farm output today is higher than what we consume and what we export. So it's the wastage that happens. So the report which has been generated by World Economic Forum in 2017, and how the recycling rates in India are far below the global average. 27% for paper, 60% for plastics. And when I say plastics, so I cover almost all form of 7 form of plastics, because if you are on the top of it, so 1, 2, 3 are the maximum recycled ones. But when you go down, so it becomes a little bit difficult to recycle those plastics, right? 20 to 25% of the metals. Then, as Anuj said, that India is basically turning into a big garbage dump. So 62 million tons, as he also said, has been produced, whereas only 12 million tons are treated. So it's just a 20% of the waste which we are treating, and it is the report given by Swachh Bharat. So the most, the point which I always wanted to discuss, and I always discuss in my LinkedIn platforms and everywhere, is that today's circularity stands at 9%. If you see the reports by the World Business Council of Sustainable Development, so today's circularity is 9%. That means we are, we are reusing, reducing, or whatsoever models we are operating on to only 9%. That means there's a space for 91%. So this we can, it's always a saying that glass is half full or half empty. So we have to always think whether this is an opportunity or this is a leg behind, right? And then last point is, I always, like this thing, like Mahindra basically conducted a pan-India survey in which 4 out of 5 Indians stated that they understand the impact of their actions on the environment. So my point is, everyone understand that they are, creating some sort of uh, problems when it comes to the environment, but what are we basically doing about it, right? So when I say circular economy, a paradigm shift, okay, so as Sharang and Anuj also explained, that it's about reduce, reuse, and recycle. But let's say when we go further, right, because these are baby steps, these are the initial steps. I always say that sustainability and circular economy is very much progressive in nature. You cannot learn everything in the one step, right? You have to take baby steps and you have to proceed. So
Hello, Shivam.
I think I lost it. Please let me know if
Yeah,
I'm. Yeah, I think I
yeah,
lost it.
yeah.
Can you just where I lost?
Can you share the slide again? Your share, the screen is gone again.
Okay, okay. Let me just. Is it visible now?
No.
Okay, let me just. Just let me know once you see it.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
And
Yeah,
where
yeah.
exactly you lost?
You on the last point here on this slide.
Okay, okay. So basically, it puts a lot of pressure when it comes to the environment and the natural system, which anyways has been explained by Anuj. And basically, it's a very creative opportunity, if I'll say, because it involves a lot of innovation, right? So whenever you are making all these sort of business models, because when the companies or the government regulatory frameworks, when they are using linear approach and you are designing something radically innovative for them, which is disruptive in nature, which is circular in nature, so a lot of creativity falls into it, right? Because it's not job, it's not a one sort of a cup of tea which you can take it again and again. So each time you will be facing different challenges, each time your geographical, your demographical, your challenges would be different, your materialization would be different, so you have to accordingly design those models. And I always say that take the steps, go with the reuse, reduce and recycle. Then there are a lot for you. It could be like redesign, reimagine, refurbish, restore, repair. And these all things basically we are we as Indians, we have been doing this thing since quite long. Because if you see our ancestors, our forefathers, they have been pre-industrial revolution, so they have been using jute bags because there were no plastics available. If you see our farmers, they have been using the organic manures and fertilizers instead of using the pesticides and herbicides. So a lot of things we were actually doing. And I always say that circular economy is not a kind of a like a rocket science or something. It is very much inbuilt into us. It's just that we as consumer or we as producer, we were not conscious about it, we were not aware about it, and we don't have any responsibility towards it, right? So once all these things will be coming, definitely we can move towards the circular economy models. And basically if you see SDGs are always very much aligned with the circular economy models. For example, out of 17 sustainable development goals, 7 are directly linked with the circular economy. So it's a really amazing win-win for us. If we are solving one problem, we are definitely solving the other problems, right? Because all these SDGs are linked to each other. For example, clean water and sanitation, decent work and economic growth, and else on, because I'm not going into each and everything. So yeah. So basically, what happens when you design the circular economy business models? See, first of all, you have to always keep in mind that circularity, sustainability, and energy transition, they are always very much linked to each other. You cannot solve one problem and you say that other problem won't be solved. Let's say if you're solving one problem, your another problem is on the verge of solving itself. So it's a transition, it's a mix of all the opportunities. So first you have to always determine these boundaries, you have to determine the scope of the project wherever you are implementing these circular economic business models. For example, let's say tomorrow there is a manufacturing firm who comes to me that Shivam, would you like to consult us to make our approach more circular. So I have to, I have to study their entire manufacturing process, their entire boundaries, what is internal and material to them, and what are the external players involved in the processes, right? So you have to always determine the boundaries. You have to select the key indicators. You have to identify the sources and collect the data. You have to perform all the calculations. It will be the demand supply landscaping. It will be the gap analysis. It will be the stakeholder alignment. It will be, all sort of baseline surveys, activities in which you can get those data, right? Then you have to interpret those results. You have to identify the opportunities. You have to prioritize something, and you have to let it go something, because you cannot solve all the problems at one time. Then you have to plan and act accordingly, and then it again forms a cycle. So what basically you will be addressing over here, and what should be your key parameter index, would be something which you have to close the loop. While you are closing the loop, you should check the percentage of the circular inflow, right? Whatever material you are getting in your circularities, then whatever material is going out from your side, what is the percentage of water circularity? What is the percentage of renewable energy, the transition? Because you won't be surviving on the fossil fuels for long, so you have to transit. And while transiting, you cannot 100% transit towards the renewable energy. You have to keep a mix of it, right? Then you have to optimize the loop. You have to check what is the critical material to you, what is the recovery type percentage, what is the potential in that area, and how about the circular material productivity while valuing the loop. Yeah. So I think my presentation is freezed. So yeah. So if we have to, give this sort of a thing to pertaining to plastics and construction, I think Sharang and Anuj already explained it pretty well, how we can, reduce, reuse, make energy out of it, and all those things. All I would like to add on to this is, see, until and unless we will be cleaning up, okay, we can clean almost all our rivers, we can clean all our oceans, we can clean all our landfills, which is because already is a waste for us. But that is not a sustainable thing. Until when you will be doing all those sort of activities, you have to, at one point, you have to stop those things. And circular economy basically provides you those solutions. So let's say you being a farmer, okay, you are a farmer, and you receive pesticides in a plastic container. Okay, so whatever pesticides coming to you is in a plastic container, and that plastic container you are using in your farmlands. Okay, but again, plastic with pesticides is very hazardous, right? So you cannot reuse it. At that time, you have to check for the different strategies, even after triple rinsing, or even after cleaning the puncturing it. So you cannot use it, right? So you have to send it to the recycler. And to do that, the entire reverse logistics, the entire take back management system will be playing a role, right? So you have to cut the chain in between itself so that it won't go ahead. That is why I always say that cleaning up and all these activities is not a sustainable solution, even though you have to do it at the moment, because you don't have other options left, right? Then this is a very interesting case study which I did when I was in Milan, Italy. So this basically was part of my project work, in which I consulted 4 different companies which were into the agriculture domain. Okay, so the companies' name were Nocetum, Kashinet, Diafal, and Italia Nostra. So these 4 companies, they were basically having their own farmlands. So one was basically into the production of uh, produce of perishable products. Another one was in barley. Some was in something else. And so what we did is we basically designed the entire framework for them, that how you can, you can waste for one can become a commodity for other. Because probably you don't have the facility to, treat that waste. But let's say your near person, the near farmland or someone can use it for you. So whole lot of activities involved in this thing, like composting of the, then generating biogas out of it, then bringing your own growlers to take the beer from the plantations, right? So whole lot of activities happens, and these all models are basically replicable when it comes to construction or plastic or any sort of sectors. All you have to do is you have to, as I said in the beginning, you have to identify and you have to see how you will be implementing these models. And then of course the cost benefit analysis and all which goes in the picture. Because sometimes, like let's say I say that this plastic container, you can take it, but let's say the cost of taking is more than cost of making. So you have to, at that time, you have to decide what next step you have to take. So these all things are very practical things, but this happens across industries. Then this is basically the value proposition of the circular economy business models, right? Because see, what happens is like going ahead when the companies will be addressing these challenges. So they will be, like forming their business models, and in their business models itself, they will be putting up all these details. Because as we see today, all these sustainability reports are mandatory reports, right? People and companies, they started releasing their sustainability reports. Tomorrow might be they have to include entire sustainability aspect in their business ecosystem levels, right? In their canvas, we say. So basically, if you see the value proposition, the value deliveries, the value creation, and the captures, so it all goes with if you see the traditional business models, okay. So over there, it was all about the key partners, the cost structure, key resources, key activities, customer relationship, value proposition, channels and logistics, customer engagement, revenues. But lately, one more thing has been added into this. This is basically about the sustainability requirements and the sustainability benefits. What basically you are doing in your, like what all are the requirements. You have to educate the consumers, you have to educate the suppliers, you have to effectively engage and focus on procurement, you have to flexibly produce your life cycles, right? And so on are the benefits which you have to give to your end beneficiaries. Similarly, when it goes with the value proposition, so one size is not fit for all, right? The products can be repaired, can be refurbished, can be remanufactured, or can be recycled, right? But services, it should have a take back management system, it should have a customer education, it should have a waste handling processing, right? So these all are some of the uber terms which, goes along the way when you design these models. Then, as I always say, innovation and design thinking is very, very important when it comes to any of the sustainable and circular economy models, because you have to design for the future. You have to basically disrupt the entire idea. You have to incorporate the digital technology, because without digital technology, believe me, nothing is possible when it comes to circular economy. You must have heard about the IoT devices, which are playing a major role when it comes to attached with the bins and like so on are the industry 4.0 processes and all. You have to sustain and preserve what's already there with you. You have to again, this is my favorite, you have to rethink and redesign the business model. And by doing so, you have to study the entire linear business model, and then you have to co-create, right? Then you have to use waste as a resource, you have to prioritize regenerative resources, and you have to team up to create the joint value. As I say, it's about diagnosing the state, the current state of the manufacturing plant, or let's say the producers, the design which you will be creating for them, whether it is feasible on ground or not, what all legalities, what all ethicalities are involved in the entire process, how you will be delivering it. Okay, because designing takes short time, even though it's very creative. But when you have to deliver, you have to have on board all the major stakeholders involved in the process. Then there's this resolve framework which has been given by the Circular Economy Foundation. So it's about regenerating, it's about sharing, as uh, already explained by Sharang. So you can, like you can, instead of going by your own cars, you can, like start using the cab services. And also these all are the small interventions basically that happens across the big picture. You have to optimize, you have to loop the resources, you have to virtualize, basically you have to dematerialize things, you have to start exchanging things, like for example exchange of clothes, exchange of books, and all those things. And lately I would talk about this leapfrogging also. Leapfrogging is a very amazing concept when it comes to sustainability, particularly in India today. Because if you compare us with the Western world, because I have lived in Western world for quite long. I have even lived in Africa for quite long. I have worked as an operations manager in a palm oil mill. So I pretty well know the condition of the developing and the developed world, right? And let's say the underdeveloped world also. So I see India on an advantage when it comes to the leapfrogging, because most of the technologies have become obsolete, and today when the new technologies are coming, so India is already on an advantage. For example, if I have to give an example of leapfrogging, uh, might be you must have heard, like telephone, uh, in the last generation, those landline mobiles and all. So if you go to Africa, most of the people, they didn't saw those telephones until now, so they directly started using mobile phones because they didn't had those technologies at that time. And this is the advantage, you can avoid the obsolete technologies, and you can invest in the new technologies, and for India it will be a major advantage going forward. Then this is basically the Bosco Verticale, which is in Italy, Milan. So my office basically was right next to it. So this building is why I kept this building is because this is a very eco-friendly and the 100% sustainable building in Milan. And the entire composting, the energy generation, each and everything happens along the way. Then I think Meeta is with us also. So this is the Auroville building, which Meeta is already very much connected with me on LinkedIn. And so I'm very impressed, when I see this Auroville building. So this basically is they have used lime instead of concrete mortar, and all the dehumidification processes, everything. So they are not using any air conditioners and all. So I think one should visit in a lifetime to see this also, because I am also keen to visit this, right? So at the end, I would just conclude by saying that we only have one planet, but at the moment we are using natural resources as if we had 1.5 planets at our disposal, right? And there's this thing by WBCSD that we'll be needing more than 2 planets by 2030 if we carry on as we are, because the pressure we are putting on the ecosystem is huge. And circular economy business models can definitely help us release those pressures. But I would say more than reduce, reuse and recycle, it's about the responsibility of both the producers and the consumers. Lately you must have seen conscious consumerism or traceability or value chain assessments. These all terms are taking quite a huge leaps when it comes to the Indian market also now. Sustainable fashion, sustainable agriculture. So consumer actually wants to know from where his or her product is coming. But sometimes what happens is we only see the products and we say that it is a sustainable product, but it's not like this. You have to always see the processes. Are there any modern slavery happening? Is there any labor issues happening? Is there any environmental footprints, carbon footprints, packaging footprints, or water footprints are happening across the line? So this is a a very progressive learning, I would say, and we have to always go step by step. So yeah, so this is basically from my side, and this is the last slide in which I have actually kept the barriers. And I think both Anuj and Sharang, with their own experiences, they can also tell what all are the barriers when it comes to implementing these circular economy concept models. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shivam. That was a wonderful session. Um, Guys, can we move on for the question and answers? People have put up too many questions.
So I'll just
Shivam?
turn off the screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just, yeah. So do I need to straight away go with the questions, or are you?
So
Is there?
I have selected 2-3 questions now. I'll just
Okay.
put it up to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's one question by Vaisak Mahapatra. Is there a possibility to connect the informal sector of waste management to connect with the companies and industries? Like still in 2020, most of the waste ends up at informal sector only. I think Anuj can take up this.
Yes, can you repeat the question? Ankush?
Is there a possibility to connect the informal sector of waste management to connect with the companies and industries? Like still in 2020, most of the waste ends up at informal sector only.
Right. So I believe like the possibility, and the few companies are doing this, and the connection is there. Like in CSR activity, if you see the CSR activities and all, so people are doing this thing through this CSR activities also, and lot of companies who are sustainable. Like there's a from climate groups and all, another different companies who are sustainable, and they are doing itself also. Like you can, I will take the example for the ITC groups and all. Okay, which is an Indian tobacco company, and they have a lot of hotels in India. Okay, they are the LEED certified hotels. So those hotels and the whatever the waste are coming from those buildings is like properly managed and properly segregated and properly recycled through the verified recyclers. So they have verified recyclers who are doing this, and their connection is also always there. So companies have to reach out first, and have to do this at their own self. So it is there, connection is there.
Okay. We have one more question. Can you
I'd like to add something about the informal sector.
Yes, please, Sharang.
That is the companies or main industries to informal sector. The problem lies where informal sector lack in the proper certification that is required for recycling, which makes it a big issue for the companies to collaborate with them, because of the gas emitted by this recycling factories is very hazardous, and it should be treated before it is released to the environment.
Right. Okay. So we have another question by Avnish Jaiswal. Can you talk a bit more on benchmarking of waste? I think Anuj was speaking of benchmarking. So can you just elaborate a little on benchmarking of waste?
So benchmarking is like whatever the waste we are creating, everything, whatever, if you are working in any field and all. So there's a one benchmarking, like I'm working in the sustainable building. So there are some benchmarking for every standards, like for the, what should be the lighting, what should be the energy uses for that building, and what are the, and for the waste also. So it is depends on the people, like how many people are in the building, and how many people in that city, how many people are in that locality, and how much like you will see if you, I'll take the example of water. Like if we use the water in our homes, so how much water is suitable is benchmarked by the ministry. Like it is benchmarked, this many liters of water per person is there. Similarly for the waste also, this much waste can be generated from the person. If it is exceeding, so it exceeding the benchmark level which is set by the industry.
Okay, right. So I think you've answered the question. We will take one question from Shwetang Singh. How do we judge whether plastics are eco-friendly in relation to other material? Sharang, would you like to take this?
I think I have already answered it in the Q&A section, that
Okay.
Recycled material are eco-friendly, and not the main plastic which is made from virgin plastic, but recycling of the already made plastic is useful than other materials.
Okay.
I just now read one question, like if you can, if I can answer.
Yes, please. Yes, you can.
So there was this one question which is really good, I think, like what government should do to implement these circular economy things. So first of all, I would say that, circular economy and business sustainability, it should basically be a part of your course curriculum. Okay. It could be, it could be anything. If government can take some initiatives in, putting it in, let's say, in the engineering, in the management institutes. So that would be, first of all, a biggest advantage, because students should start learning it from within. Even sustainability, when we say environmental education, this basically comes up from our school education itself, right? But as we grow, as we, progress in our lives, in our careers, we start forgetting, until and unless we are, let's say, not studying business sustainability, or we are not working in a manufacturing plant where you are dealing with the sort of waste and all those stuff, right? So I think the biggest step government should take is to include this as part of course curriculums. Okay, not only for the management or, let's say, engineering students, but it could be for other courses also, because this is basically a part of our lifestyle. This is about being conscious about the earth and about the resources which we have, right? And then apart from it, it's all about the regulatory frameworks, how you are, making all those government bodies, and how you are progressing in a direction which relates to this thing. Yeah.
Right. I think you've answered the question, and most questions were answered by Anuj and Sharang in the Q&A section only. I think Sanchita, would you like to take over?
Yes, so we have two questions which we have received on email. I think we can club this question. First is, where are we in this world ran for recycling of plastic waste, and what's the reason? What steps are we taking to recycle the plastic waste? This we have received from Vijay Tejwani. And the second question we have is, what has been done to address specific challenges in the plastic industry? What about marine litters? This we have received from Mr. Sufyan Khan, Mohammed Sufyan Khan. I think all the speaker can talk a little about this. We start with Mr. Shivam.
Yeah. So basically, see, marine plastic, as I said, first of all, it should not be there. Okay, I always believe it should not be there, because see, entire our ecosystem is something like it's like flowing freely from our rivers, from our ponds, from our nalas, okay, from our landfill sites. It is freely going into the oceans, right? The entire channel is there. First of all, it should not be there. But let's say when the material is already there, so what basically companies or let's say organizations are doing, they are putting up these cleanup drives. Okay, they are taking all those plastic from the oceans, even though they cannot go to the marina trench, right, in the Pacific Ocean, because our plastic has reached until there also, right? But still from the top, this thing, they take the plastic, and then let's say Adidas is a very good example. They manufacture this Parley shoes out of their recycled plastic from the ocean. And then there are multiple companies, those who are doing small initiatives when it comes to making t-shirts, or making lowers, or making like some sort of toys or guns or sort of stuff, plastic stuff. But these are not scalable things. You have to like always start stopping it at the source. For example, the rivers from which it is flowing, right? You have to put some litter traps over there. You have to start putting there's a very good concept, if I have to tell, Clear Rivers in Netherlands. Okay, so this is an organization which is basically providing a plastic, like whatever plastic they are recovering from the oceans, or let's say from the rivers, they are making a trap out of those plastic, which works on a circular motion without any energy. So you put that plastic trap in the rivers, and the entire plastic, it will be sucking it, right? So these all things can happen, but apart from it, I think we should start stopping those plastic to the oceans. This is the sustainable thing. Apart from it, nothing is sustainable, to be honest.
I would like to add one thing to this about ocean plastic recycling. That is happening in India also. Mainly the ocean plastic, which consists of a lot of fishing net, which is a major part of plastic waste that is into the ocean, which being recycled for making different articles out of it.
So I like the fun point here, like as I shared in the comment section also, the government of India is also doing something, and they are also through the startups platform, because right now a lot of startups are coming who are working in the plastic industry, because plastic is next wealth which can create the wealth for the country. So you can see check out the link which I put on the chat box. And apart from this, a lot of things are happening in Oroville. Like we have people from Oroville to lot of things which and Bangalore also, because I visited earlier the Bangalore. Some NGOs are working who makes their plastic, like some people asking for the what happens with the plastics of the chips chips pouch, and what the fruity which we drink. So that can be reused, or that can be recycled, reused. You can make the different things, like from the Tetra packs we can make the bags, paper that files, folders, and everything can be made from the Tetra packs. And similarly, other plastic can be reused. And if it is not reusing, the people can recycle through the verified recyclers. Thank you. Yes, Ankush, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you for your insight and your answering the questions. I'll ask Sanchita to give a closing statement.
Yeah, so I think that was a great session. I would request all the panelists to kindly give a keynotes from the presentations that you have given. I think last point is remaining from your side as a barrier.
Yes.
Mr. Shivam,
Yeah, sorry.
last key point of your presentation, the barrier point that you would love to discuss.
Yeah. Like barrier point, if like in the circular economy, if Anuj and Sharang can also like join.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So over to you, Anuj.
Yeah, so barriers are like first is the our habits, like habits, because if we do not change our habits, nothing can happen. We always blame our government, like government is not taking such steps to make this plastic or any such type of waste usable. So but we have to make our habits properly, whatever we are doing in case of waste, properly managed at own source, like we are using at home, so it should be properly managed. Or I'm giving an example because I read somewhere, the milk, whatever we use, the milk packets and all, if we tore the milk from the heads, just small, the small piece which we tore out, that plastic cannot be recycled or cannot be reused. So we have to tore a milk packet very precisely, so that it would be a one packet only, and so that it goes to the recycle firm and can be recycled properly. So first is the habits, that is the main thing. Then transparency should be there in the government sector also, like how much waste is generating, how much waste is coming out now, what is the how much waste is going to the landfill. It should not be there to the landfill, but how much waste is going in the real world. So this is the 2 points which I am from my side. Shivam, would you like to add something on this?
Yeah, I think you have covered the most interesting points, Anuj. So basically, I think apart from it, it's the innovation which we will be doing in our technologies. It's the ambition by which we will be doing. It's basically about the collaborations which we will be making in future, let's say among the corporate sector, among the NGOs, among the government regulatory bodies, right? So it takes a lot of knowledge, it takes a lot of efforts. So I think these are some of the barriers in which, apart from the responsibility, basically. So if we can address all these issues, let's say going ahead, so it would be wonderful for our nation. Yeah. Over to you, Sharang.
Yeah, I would like to suggest something which is happening in Mumbai area at least, that if you are aware and you want to segregate your waste, and it is like you can tell your buildings or your housing societies to segregate it differently, the municipalities are willing to take your waste and in dry and wet waste separately and treat it. So it is a very plus point that our municipalities are taking effort to do it. And the barrier what I see is the designs, just like how Anuj said about milk packets, that we don't know how to tear it, or we have not been taught how should we tear it. There should be some design factor, like which just like some packaging have, that this should be cut from as a cutting symbol with a scissor. The design factors in some companies should come up with such a design that it tears in a similar way, which makes it easier for recycling it ahead, and nothing is lost. So design is the major thing that should be incorporated by all the industries for better recycling.
Thank you, Sharang. I think so. There is one suggestion from the Gaurav Paul in the chat box, like proper education, which is very important. Proper education awareness from the school, like from the kids, it is very important for the waste management and all. So that is one thing. So I think these are the main barriers we are facing right now in our yes, community and all. Ankush, over to you.
Great. I'll just pull up my screen. We would just give me a minute.
There is a very good question that earlier we were discussing about. I would ask if Shivam sir or Anuj sir would like to answer it. Sorry, Ankush, but it is
That's okay. That's
really
okay.
important
Yes,
that
please.
Noel sir had, Noel Shiri has asked that after COVID pandemic, many plastic recycling industries have shut down to avoid infection in their to their plastic workers due to contamination of this plastics with other plastic that is coming from quarantine home. How can this situation change and help in improving recycling? So if you could, any of you could answer that, and after that I'll answer it with anything if I haven't.
So
Yeah. So
in my
yeah.
opinion, like as a home quarantine or in hospitals also, like what right now the PP kit and the face mask and all, those should be properly dumped in the spatial dustbins, so that it should not be mixed with the our dry waste or the wet waste, because that is a hazardous right now. That could create a hazardous activity also. So that should be dumped properly. So it is our responsibility, the people responsibility from their own end. Then only the at the site it can process easily. Yes, Shivam, you can add.
Yes, Sharang, basically what happens is, like, if you'll see the 2016 guidelines of the biomedical waste, right? So it has already identified, it has already given 6 color codings to all the hospitals and the health centers, right? So what happens is, like, the common waste treatment facilities, which is waste treatment facility which incinerates, which, like, autoclaves, all those mechanisms which happens down the line. So they take all the waste from the hospitals and they segregate it and they dump it accordingly. They recycle it, do it accordingly, right? So, but what happens is, like, the main challenge is not the biomedical waste which is going from the hospitals, because that is anyways going through a right channel. We can consider it, like, on ground it might be a different thing, but when it says policy, so policy is already there. But the main issue and the problem comes is from the home and the residential waste again, because we are dumping and mixing it with our own waste, right? So if we probably at our residences we can manage it quite effectively, then it can be a chance. Otherwise there's always an exposure chance to, like, for the workers and for the downline people, those who are working and handling those things.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for answering that. That was a major question, and it is the need of the time. And it was a problematic question for me to answer also. I would like to just add one thing that I'd seen South India happening on a very large scale, that such waste which are hazardous, also including the sanitary waste, were always covered in a paper and marked with red sketch pen, so that the waste segregators know that it contains something hazardous, and it helps to that it is segregated separately and it is managed separately. So that is also a very good action that we can take.
Agree, Sharang.
Agree, Sharang. Yeah.
Ankush, over to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. I request Ankush to kindly share the slide so that we can give a thank you note to everyone. First of all, this was a wonderful session. There were approximately 150 plus attendees who have joined us today. I would like to thank our partners. Thank you, partners. FairAct, execution partner FairAct. A special thanks to Ganesh sir if he is attending today. And Ganesh sir, thank you so much for supporting us. We thank our technological partner Afik Center. We thank association partner ISA, our registration partner VibleSoft, for all your support and coordination towards building its community. Also, a special thanks to our entire team who made this possible. Thank you, Anuj. Thank you, Sharang. Thank you, Shivam, for being with us, for accepting to come as a speaker. It was a great, insightful session. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Shivam. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
sorry, I'm interrupting you, Sanchita. I wanted to thank all the panelists personally, and I want to thank all the attendees. The panelists have been so good and so great. so supportive, and we're so excited to have you guys on the community. And I think we can really make a difference. Such brilliant key takeaways. And I want to thank Ankush and Sanchita. They have pulled off this event brilliantly. Sanchita, kudos to you. You have created a brilliant community. And Ankush, as always, our technology, our designing, our all-rounder. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you
And
so much.
Anuj, thank you for being so great. Shivam, Sharang, you're so much with energy. And I think we're going to be working a lot more together. And Sanchita, you were continuing.
Yeah, so all the attendees, as promised, will be providing you e-certificate within 7 days of this webinar. We'll be sending you keynotes of the speakers that they have shared with us today with the e-certificate. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.